Dr. Jazz.
What are you doing in Europe? Are you on tour or?
Jazz.
Yeah, I'm on tour with I play with David Sanborn.
Oh wow!
So
Really?
yeah, so we're in Paris right now. We have a concert. We were just in Denmark for a week
Wow!
at a
Yeah.
great festival up there that's run by a pianist, Niels Landoki,
Oh yeah, sure.
Finnish pianist. And so he's got a festival. He runs the whole thing. Like he books the bands, he plays. He's even like there at 8 o'clock every morning, like setting up the microphones and running cables on stage. This guy does everything. It's incredible.
Wow! Didn't know
But
that.
yeah. So Dave's got kind of a jazz, like an acoustic band he's
That's
touring with right now. So it's Ben Williams on bass, Billy Kilson on drums,
really. Oh
and
man!
we have different guests come and play either trumpet or trombone. We've got a trumpet player, Peter Asplund from Sweden,
Yeah.
with us. So yeah, it's
Wow!
cool, man. It's cool.
Wow! Is that a new thing?
But I have to say, I really enjoyed, because I didn't know your music before you contacted me, and I listened, and I really enjoyed your Dolphy
Oh,
stuff,
thank
man,
you.
on guitar. Like, because nobody does that, you know what I mean? It's like nobody attempts hardly. I mean, people don't really play Eric Dolphy's music that much anyway, but
Yeah.
to attempt it and
Yeah.
on any solo instrument,
Yeah.
like it's
I
pretty
wanted to do
ambitious
it
too.
without having, the idea of Joe Pass kind of style, like of harmonizing and,
Right.
doing. I just wanted to go like, okay, let's approach it not as a harmonic too much. I mean, of course I harmonized a lot, but to be allow myself just to play single lines sometimes also, and kind of imitate Dolphy's saxophone. And I really love that. I mean, he was such an
Oh yeah.
improviser, man. It's incredibly good. So
Yeah, man.
yeah. But I wanted to ask you, Geoffrey, like I watched the other day a set, I don't know, live at Timucua or Timusua or something like that, a trio.
Yeah, I think it's Timucua.
Timucua.
Yeah,
And
Orlando, Florida. Yeah.
is this something new happening, like a new album approaching? I mean, you're burning. I was so happy to
Oh,
see you
thank
again
you.
playing.
No, it's a venue. It's a venue in Florida that's actually the inside of a guy's house.
Oh wow. Okay.
He's a trumpet player, Benoit Glazer, French trumpet player, and he's got this house, and he's converted like a large part of it into a little concert hall, and it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely gorgeous space. And I was playing with two guys from from the area, Rodney Jordan, bassist from Florida, and Quentin Baxter on drums from South Carolina. Drummer that plays with Ranky Tanky, but also I used to play with Freddie Cole.
Oh really? Oh
Yeah. So yeah, these guys are great, man.
yeah. You were killing it. I mean, all the things you are in segment and all that stuff that you play, it's just like, man, you're swinging.
you.
Incredible. So
Thank you.
but are you otherwise preparing something new, like also, or?
I have a new record coming out August 12th.
Oh wow. Okay.
Worldwide on my own label, Marquise. The album is called Playdate.
Oh wow, fantastic.
And it's a bunch of friends. It features Shedrick Mitchell on Hammond B3 organ, and Ron Blake saxophone, Richie Goods on bass, and Kendrick Scott on drums.
Man.
Two guitar players, Nir Felder and Ayushi Karnik, young guitarist that goes to Juilliard.
Okay.
And then there's a string orchestra on a couple pieces too.
Wow.
And Mungo Jackson on percussion. So it's called Geoffrey Keezer and Friends, and the album's called Playdate because a play date is something, when you have children and we don't all live in the same neighborhood, and especially during COVID, you had to like schedule time for your children to play with other kids, and kind of make it safe. So I thought of it like, when you're kids and you just get together and you schedule a time to get together and play, and that's kind of what we did. So trying to make music that was not too serious, just kind of fun, have some fun, and escape a little bit, because I think so much music being made now is, of course, out of necessity, but so heavily leaning towards social, making a statement, or talking about gender issues or racial issues, or as some, especially with so many problems in the United States, artists are using their voice to try to say something, which is of course very important, but at the same time, I think sometimes people, I think, listen to music just to enjoy it and to get a little bit of relief from the problems of the world. And so that's kind of what I was trying to do, is just say, listen, I know things are bad, but let's just have some fun. Let's try to enjoy, enjoy life a little bit too.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
How did you choose the musicians? I mean, it's an awesome lineup, but I mean,
they are, so interestingly enough, so I've been, during COVID, during the last 2 years, I was doing a lot of string arranging, like for, writing string arrangements for people. And so Shedrick Mitchell, he produces a lot, he makes records of his own, but he produces a lot for other pop artists and stuff. So I ended up being kind of like his string guy.
Oh, really? Oh, wow, man.
And also for Richie Goods and for the Baylor project, Marcus and Gene Baylor. Yeah. And so I thought, I like being an arranger for hire, and I like collaborating in that way, but the thing I love to do the most is play the piano. So I say, let me call some of these people that I've been writing for and just get together and play, like as peers, So and these are all, everyone on the record are people that I go back a long way with, like Richie Goods. We went to Berkeley together. We were like, I met him when I was 17.
Okay.
He played, actually, when I auditioned for Berkeley, he was the bass player in the house.
Oh, really? Oh,
wow. So we go back a super long way. Ron Blake, we played together. Yeah, with Christian, but even before that with Art Farmer. We played together in the 90s with Art Farmer. And Kendrick, we played together quite a bit over the years, and just like that. So, it's comfortable, musicians that we're comfortable to play with, and just that way, and we're all on the same page musically. We're not trying to be too straight ahead or too anything. We're just interested in trying to make something that feels current and fun and fresh and whatever, So
why the decision for, I mean, everyone's been doing it now, I mean, including me also, and your own label. How come you decided for that? And I mean, it's, in a way, it's easier now, Bandcamp and all this.
Yeah. I just, it's, the bookkeeping is easier for me. I know if I sell a record, I get the money. I know exactly where the money's going. It's also just, I'm impatient. I didn't want to wait a year or two to shop it to a label and have them decide. And then so many records I've done for other labels. Some have been more, successful than others, but a lot of times they just, like, they put it out and then they don't do anything with it. So I just said, you know what, I can do better than that myself. So,
that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's a label I have with my wife is Jillian Margot, the singer. So we have a label together called Marquise,
Okay. That's smart, I think, You check out the greats, Dave Holland's been doing it for 20 years, or Dave Douglas has Greenleaf for 20 years, or like so many musicians. So I think it's a good thing, actually, because we then own everything and we get the money. So that's
and also that way, if I want to license it to like a film or a TV show or something, I can control that. I don't have to, I own it. Like you say, it's just easier, I think.
Yeah. I wanted to ask you.
You're frozen. Oh, okay.
I wanted to ask you. Like, I listened today to "Diamond in the Rough" by Roy, and that record starts with "Proclamation," and it's your tune, right?
It is. Although the very beginning of the melody, and I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble, but hopefully Terence Blanchard will forgive me. But the very beginning of the melody is a little bit of a riff that Terence played on a solo on a record by Billy Pierce. The record was called Give and Take. And,
okay.
Terence starts his solo with "Boo-dee-dee-dee-doo-doo-dee-dee-dee."
Yeah.
And then so I kind of a little bit stole that, but that was a tune that Roy and I, we went to Berkeley and we were roommates, so that was a tune we kind of wrote like in a Berkeley practice room.
Oh man.
Kind of just would. Roy played, he played mostly by ear, right? He could kind of read, but he was really more of an ear guy. So we just kind of, we would just make up tunes and kind of figure stuff out,
Yeah. No, I wanted to ask you, like, when did it all start for you? Like, you're having a new record out, and of course, you're writing music. You've been extremely prolific as a composer as well. I mean, if I check my records of you, it's so many compositions of you. But when did you start writing? I mean, you were like 18 or something like that, or 17 actually.
Yeah,
when all this was happening.
Yeah, well, I started writing music kind of as a kid because so the way I grew up in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, which is a small town in a very cold town in the north of the United States, almost Canada, pretty much. We're like South Canada, basically. But my parents are music teachers, so I grew up just around a lot of music all the time, and started writing my own music very early, like age 5, 6, little, just, I mean, nothing great, but just little tunes. And my father was a drummer, and he taught me how to read music and how to write music.
Oh, wow.
Because he got tired of having to do it for me. I said, Dad, I got a new idea. I need you to write it down. He's like, look, kid, after 2 of those, he's like, okay, I'm going to teach you how to do this yourself. I don't have time. So yeah, I've been writing music, and then thankfully, and so he conducted jazz ensembles, like college, level jazz ensembles, and also percussion ensembles. And I learned how to write for those groups. And thankfully I was able to, he even though the music wasn't any good, it was just a little kid writing music, but he would play it. I'd write something and I'd bring it in, and he would play it with his student group and sometimes program it on a concert. And I thought, gosh, how cool is that? To be able to get that feedback and to be able to write for a group and hear and learn how to play that way. And this is, of course, long before samples and notation software and all that stuff. So, but I actually had the ability to learn how to compose by having groups to write for and hearing that feedback. And then when I was in high school, age 14, 15, 16, 17, I had a band, various bands, but groups of friends that were all interested in jazz, and a couple of trumpet player friends of mine, and a guitar guy and a sax guy, and we would just get together and play. And at that point, we were trying to learn the repertoire, and we're trying to copy like Art Blakey and the Jazz Messengers, or like Miles Davis Quintet, or Clifford Brown, Max Roach, and all that stuff. We were trying to do that. Cannonball, yeah.
Wow, that's incredible.
And I would write for those groups too. So trying to learning how to write by actually having real people to write for. And
that's incredible. Yeah. Well, what about piano wise? Like, who were the musicians, the pianists that you heard that kind of blew your mind, like wise when you were a teenager?
Very well. As a young kid, I was hearing. So I grew up in the 70s, born in 1970. So I was hearing the music that was, happening at the time. So I was hearing Weather Report and Chick, Chick Corea and Gary Burton, and Return to Forever, and also older, like, this is like talking about like my dad's record collection. So Oscar Peterson Trio, Wynton Calley, Miles, all that stuff. But I was really fascinated with synthesizers and electronic music, ARP 2600s. And so at the university where my father taught, they had an ARP 2600 synthesizer. So, these weren't things that consumers didn't have. These things, it was only like institutions and wealthy musicians, Stevie Wonder and John Lennon and Zawinul and Chick Herbie, guys like that. But normal people didn't have these things, at home. So I was able to, my dad got a student of his to teach me every week to give me lessons on how to program the ARP 2600, and we had a 4-track tape, reel-to-reel tape recorder that you could overdub 4 times, and so I learned how to program it. I was really interested in space wars, like the movie Star Wars and Close Encounters and all that stuff had just come out. So I was like making laser sounds and R2D2,
How cool, man.
all that kind of stuff. But then it eventually, like, I got into like Wendy Carlos, like the well-tempered clavier, or sorry, switched on Bach, and that stuff. And so I was starting to learn how to play those, like Bach 3-part inventions and things like that. But it was the synthesizer that really got me into music, and it was my first instrument before the piano, really.
Interesting.
And then there was a piano teacher there at the school that knew I was doing this, and because the synthesizer was keyboard controlled, but I didn't really know how to play the keyboard properly, So they said, you should get this kid piano lessons.
Yeah.
So I took piano lessons because I was trying to play the synthesizer. But yeah, no, I still love it. I mean, I love the piano, I love the acoustic piano. It's something I can really, especially a good one, you sit at it and you can really get into the sound and all the overtones. And if it's in tune, and just the acoustic sound is such a beautiful thing. But I love electronic instruments just as much,
Oh, interesting. I didn't know that. Wow. Yeah, I always heard you like more, like as an acoustic pianist. I didn't know that. Oh, yeah.
Check out like the Christian McBride band,
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
That's, very, very Weather Report influenced music,
It's a beautiful group, yeah. But I wanted to, you mentioned Berkeley also. So you went then from Wisconsin to Berkeley, and but you stayed there what? Because like 1 year or something? Because
1 year, yeah. I had a friend, Kenny Rampton, the trumpet player who plays in the Lincoln Center big band. He wanted to move to New York. He was graduating. He said, "Come on, I need a roommate. You got to move to New York." I said, "Well, I don't know if I'm ready. I don't really want to, And he pulls up in his Jeep one day, and outside my apartment where I was living, and he honks like, "Get in the car. We're going." So I said, "Okay, give me 30 minutes." So I packed up all my stuff. I said, "Screw it. I'm going to move to New York." But I was really, really fortunate that I had met Art Blakey a couple times when I was living in Boston. I was introduced to him by all these things that happen in life. There's always like so many chains of, events that happen, so many people that are so part of your life, and nothing, you don't do anything on your own, right? Nothing happens independently. But I was introduced, I met a pianist named James Williams, and befriended him, and used to travel down to New York on weekends whenever I had a little extra money for a train ticket from Boston, and I'd stay at his place in Brooklyn, and he'd take me around and introduce me
how cool.
to different musicians, and hang out in New York and stuff. So I met a lot of the cats. He introduced me to Art Blakey one night, so Art let me sit in.
Wow, how old were you? Like,
I was like 17, 18. Like I just gone to college. But I knew the music already, because I was playing Art Blakey's music with my group in high school back home, and then actually at Berkeley I was in the Art Blakey Ensemble.
Okay.
That Billy Pierce ran. So we used to our little room, the Art Blakey Ensemble. The band in the next room was the Iron Maiden Ensemble, which is like an oxymoron. Iron Maiden Ensemble. I mean, I like Iron Maiden. Like I was a metalhead as a kid. I mean, I like they're a cool band, but we'd be in there trying to like playing Moanin' and May Ray, and they're in there like Peace of Mind and Run to the Hills and all this stuff. It's like 1,000 decibels. But anyway, so these stories, like I'm trying to make it a short story. Anyway,
please.
I met Art Blakey, and I sat in with him a couple times, and so he kind of got to know who I was, and then it just kind of worked out that when I moved to New York in the summer of kind of late summer of 1988, 89, sorry, 1989. Art needed, Benny Green was leaving and he needed a new pianist. So he somehow found me. They somehow found my number and called me up. And so I started, like, the next month, I started working with Art at Sweet Basil in New York, which was my dream gig. It was what I always wanted to do, you know? And it was like, I can't believe it. I'm actually doing this band. But at the same time, I felt like I was a little bit arrogant, you know? I was kind of arrogant when I was young. And I thought, well, it seemed like that was the right place for me to be. It was like, okay, well, this is how it's supposed to be. I'm supposed to be here, you know?
Yeah. Oh.
But it really was a dream gig for me. And I'm glad I did it, because it was the last year of Art's life.
Yeah.
You know, I was the last pianist to play with him.
Yeah.
But we toured all over Europe and all over in Japan, and it was 1 year that felt like 5.
Man.
You know, we just packed a lot of life into 1 year, you know.
How was he like as a band leader towards you guys? I mean, there was lots of younger cats in it also. I mean, Brian Lynch was there, right? And
he was at Brian Lynch, Essie,
Steve Davis, right?
Yeah. Steve Davis, yeah. One time, because we were a mostly white band, you know, and one time somebody asked Art, said, "Art, you got a lot of white guys in the band. What's up with that?" And Art goes, "I'll look into it." I'll look into it.
That's a good one.
But, you know, no, he was a good band leader. I learned a lot observing him as a band leader, because he didn't do like the same set night to night. We had a bunch of tunes. We probably had 30 maybe tunes that we chose from. Oh. And he was very good at reading the audience and kind of, you know, what do we need to do right now to get the energy up, or to, you know, are people, you know, tired of, are we playing too many new tunes? Do we need to play some hits, like go back and play Blues March or Moanin' or something like that? You know, the set always had a real shape to it. Like, you know, we wouldn't play 3 fast tunes in a row or 3 blueses in a row or something. It would always be like, start with something kind of medium. The second tune would be usually up tempo. Then, you know, there would always be places in the set where he would feature, you know, they say, we're going to feature the trumpet player, or we're going to feature the sax player, you know, ballad, or feature the piano player. So the set always had a nice programmatic kind of flow to it, you know. Oh. And you know, his energy level, even when a lot of times he wasn't feeling well, you know, he had cancer, and he was really not feeling well at all, but when he played the music, it was like everything else went away. Yeah. You know, all the worries, all the tiredness of travel, you know, being sick, whatever it was, like, it was just, the music was just always like
there. Yeah.
Always there, you know?
Yeah. Incredible. I mean, how was Europe like for you? Like the first time you remember the first tour?
Incredible.
You were like 19 or?
Oh my God. Yeah. You know, it was incredible. Just to get, you know, see how other people live, you know, when you grow up in the United States, if you have the means to do so, it's really, really important that you travel if you can. You know, not everybody has, and there's a lot of people, you know, poverty, and there's a lot of, you know, people that can't get out of their situation. But if you can, man, traveling outside of the United States is the best thing you can do, because then you see that the rest of the world doesn't think like Americans, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
You go to Europe, people speak 4 or 5 languages, you know? And it's like, you know, they speak, you know, all these languages, and there's so much, you know, the schools and people, there's like healthcare, and there's like, wow, the rest of the world, you know, isn't this like disaster that the United States is, you know? So it's good to get more, you know, a bigger perspective like that. So it was especially good for me as an 18-year-old kid.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's amazing. I mean, you know, you were like 18, 19, and like I said, you know, I have quite a big record collection. I used to still buy CDs back then. I mean, you know, and I checked the CDs I have you on, and the dates, and it's just like, you know, you're with Art Blakey. Then this 90s, there's Art Farmer, there's Ray Brown.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that go for you? I mean, how did this, because it seems like chronologically you kind of, you know, Art passed away, and then immediately you found like Art Farmer and Ray Brown. I mean, they found you. Like, how did these things happen with you? Like,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, to some degree, I sought those opportunities out. You know, there were other scenes happening. There was like the Steve Coleman and M-Bass and that stuff. And there were a lot of interesting things happening that my, I guess, you know, colleagues or my generation was doing. But I think on some level, I knew that the older musicians weren't going to be around forever. So I really wanted to play with them. I wanted to learn from them as much as I could and do that, you know, the apprenticeship thing, you know, because once they're gone, that's it. You know,
you were one of the last ones, I guess, one of the last generations. So
yeah, I really got in at the tail end of a lot of it. And in fact, a lot of musicians died when I was in their band, you know. It was weird. I was like, oh my God, you know, every band I got in, somebody died, you know.
That's dark almost. But
it kind of sucked. Yeah, it kind of sucked. But I got to play, you know, Art Farmer, actually, James Williams introduced me to Art Farmer as well. And he was leaving Art's band like 1991-ish. So he introduced me to Art. I auditioned for him and liked what I did. So that was a great experience too, because Art Farmer was so different from Art Blakey. You know, Art Blakey was all about like loud and 100%, you know, very aggressive, you know, hard swinging, you know, and Art Farmer was kind of like very delicate sometimes, you know, like much different. The way you comp is very different. But Art also was Art Farmer also very, well, both Arts, but Art Farmer was very interested in continually updating his repertoire. And so he would ask us for tunes. So I got to write a lot of original music for Art Farmer. Which he played. Like we'd bring in tunes and he would play them, you know, on the gig. It was nice. Everybody in the band wrote, you know, Kenny Davis, bass player, he wrote tunes for the band. Ron Blake, you know. We got to play with Clifford. Clifford Jordan was the sax player when I joined. Wow. And oh man, he's so great. Clifford used to come in, you know, we'd play, we started at 10 o'clock at night, and it would be winter, you know, in New York, and he'd come in, you know, it'd be snowing outside, and come in with his coat on and, you know, everything, hat, gloves, and he would get there at 9:59 and 30 seconds, you know, and we're going on stage, and he would literally just walk on stage, take off his coat, take his horn out of the case, and boom, you know.
That's amazing. That's incredible. No, I know that record Solace, that was like 91, right? That's quite early.
That was in Japan. That was recorded in it says we have 10 minutes left. I see a countdown here.
We'll then we kind of interrupt, and then we just log in back. So
okay,
you know, it's a free version, so
right.
But
I had to buy the you know, to buy the version for teaching, you know, because I had to keep. Sometimes I would teach like master classes with 10 or 12 different students. So you gotta pay for it.
No, but it's. What about Ray? I mean, you know, with Ray, also, I think I saw Benny Green with Ray. That's why I mixed it up. But you also kind of, Benny left Art, and then Art Blakey, and then you came, and then also Benny left Ray Brown.
I know, Benny and I, we laugh about this a lot, because it's like I keep following him in these bands. But Ray Brown, I met him someplace, you know, mid-90s festival. I think he heard me play, and then I subbed for Benny a couple times. Ray called me to sub in a couple gigs in Europe, like around 1995 or 6 or something like that. And you know, anytime I get a call, even to this day, I try to do my homework. I learn, that person's music. I transcribe and make charts. Like I don't, I try to do my best and try to be prepared as much as possible. And so I came in and, I knew some of Ray's, I bought like 10 of Ray's most recent albums and I transcribed and made charts. So I made a book of about 50, 60
Oh, wow, man.
charts, so I would be ready. And then Ray says, yeah, what do you want to play? We can just play some standards, take the A train. I was like, well, actually, we can play your book. I'm ready. Whatever you want to do. Oh, great. Let's do. So, and then I think I told him at dinner after the second gig, I said, listen, Ray, I know I don't want to step on anybody's toes. I said, but if Benny ever decides to leave your band, I said, I'd love to play with you. Oh, okay. And so about 6 months later, I'm sitting at home in Brooklyn, my phone rings, Keezer, Ray Brown, oh, hey, Mr. Brown, how are you? He goes, well, Benny's leaving. You want the gig? I said, yeah, so let me check my calendar. I had one of those paper calendars, I said, let me just look through these dates. And I go, flip, 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 and there's like nothing written. It's blank, and I'm like, flip, 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 flip. And he said, yeah, it looks good. When do we start? So actually, you know what? Actually, the first thing I did with Ray was, even before that, was there was an album he made called Some of My Best Friends.
Yeah.
For the piano players.
Yeah.
And that was the first time I met Ray or even played with him. That was completely a cold call. He just called me up.
Oh, I thought you were already part of the group. Okay.
No, yeah, that was the first time we played together, and he calls me up. He's down at Avatar Studio, and he says, "Yeah, I'm making a record." He says, "Ahmad Jamal is down here, Oscar Peterson just left, and Benny Green, and so we're making a record. How soon? When can you get here?" I said, "I'll, yesterday." I'm like, "I'm in a cab."
Oh, man.
So, and you get down to the studio, and it's Lewis Nash was playing drums, and Ray says, "So, what do you want to play?" And I said, "What do I want to play? What do you want?" He just let me pick a couple tunes. We chose "Close Your Eyes" and "The Nearness of You,"
Yeah.
and I'm just like, wow,
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, amazing. Yeah, just that you got to, play with Art and Ray and Art Farmer, actually.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's just.
I feel really, really very, very fortunate that I moved to New York when I did, and that I had those opportunities. Just the timing. I got to meet and play with a lot of my heroes, and get to know them and really learn. That's the main thing is, not so much about me putting my thing on top of what they're doing, but really about like, what can I learn from this? How, this nonverbal musical communication, because really they didn't talk about music. Like they didn't say you should be playing this scale over this chord, or, it wasn't an educational situation like that. It was an education by literally just like, you learn how to shovel snow by going out in the winter with your father or your grandfather and just doing it. You know what I mean? It's just by immersion and doing the work and doing the homework and having that, just like wanting to soak it in,
Yeah. So basically, you guys never discussed about music, like how to play something as a band, like Art.
No, not really.
Wow.
Not really.
Okay.
No.
Just chart and play it and.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it was just on you to get it together,
Yeah.
I mean, you're there, you get hired, you're there because you can play at least somewhat, you know what I mean? Like there's a trust, Ray Brown trusted that I would do the homework and learn the music and do my best, and then beyond that, it's just, you're playing every night. And so the more you play, the better you get. And your chops, my chops felt so good when I was playing with Ray Brown, because we were literally like every night we were playing, sometimes 20, 30 nights in a row in Europe, just banging them out.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Yeah. I mean, considering he was quite old already back then, that he
I
just
know.
played.
I know. These guys were tough, man. They were road warriors. They didn't complain, you know. Wasn't like, oh man, the hotel's not, you know, blah, blah, blah. The food's not good enough. Just, you never heard anyone complain, man.
Yeah, nowadays it's like it's so different. It's like,
Yeah.
Man, we have to travel 5 hours today.
Oh yeah. Oh man. Oh my the Wi-Fi sucks. Oh, I can't get I can't get on Instagram. This
exactly.
shitty hotel, man. You know.
No, but it's true, I guess.
Yeah.
They were playing in the 50s, of course, or in the 60s. They've gone through a lot of things. So
yeah,
we kind of are spoiled now, I guess. So yeah. But Geoffrey, I wanted to ask you this. Besides we talk now about you playing with all these amazing guys, but in between, you were like a band leader already, like quite established and doing so much work. And I wanted to ask you, how did Waiting in the Wings and Curveball initially happen, and those early records? And you have them on Bandcamp also, I think. And it's how do you look at those records now, and how did they happen? I mean, the rhythm sections at the bands are just Victor Lewis, I don't know, Billy Pierce. It's just incredible. How did that happen?
Thank you for doing knowing about those.
No, the tunes are beautiful. Like you wrote beautiful drawing board and the Accra and that stuff. It's beautiful music you wrote.
Thank you. Those were tunes I wrote in Wisconsin as a kid.
Really, seriously, wow. Okay.
But that was because of James Williams. James was recording for Sunnyside Records, a label based in New York, and so he. What happened was when I met James. I know we're running out of time on the thing here, but
we will continue a new one then.
Yeah. I met him when I was like 15 or 16. So I used to correspond, and I would send him tapes. Like I'd get together with my friends back home and we'd record whatever new tunes, and every 3 or 4 months or so I'd make an album, but it would just be like a tape, and I mailed it to James. And so I was keeping him updated on the stuff I was doing. And then so he took a couple of those to Francois Zalican from Sunnyside and said, hey, I think we should really record this guy. So James kind of got me that record deal with Sunnyside.
What about the bands? It was also him? I mean, the musicians, I mean, because it's really amazing players.
He produced it. We kind of discussed, who we wanted to use and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow, incredible. Okay. Well, let's just wait that this runs down a bit.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you now about Here and Now also. What if something, because that one is on Blue Note, right? And
that album was made actually for a Japanese subsidiary of Blue Note called Something Out.
Okay.
And I think Blue Note distributed it in this.
Okay.
So I wasn't like signed to Blue Note officially.
Okay. But still, it's a beautiful record, and with Billy Higgins on it. And
Billy Higgins, I can tell you about him. Okay. So he didn't like a lot of musicians of his generation. He didn't read music, which is fine. A lot of people didn't read music. Didn't impede them from being brilliant musicians. So I wrote these tunes for the record, and we got together to rehearse, and he just kind of learned stuff by ear, kind of felt his way through it. And he came in the next day, came to the studio, and everything was like absolutely in his memory, like rock solid, and played the whole record from memory. And it was just like, this is incredible,
Yeah.
Blakey was like that too. He didn't read, but he could memorize stuff, I think it's if you don't, I don't know, because I do read music, so I don't know what it's like to not read music. But my guess, my theory at least, is that if you don't read music, maybe you develop your ears more,
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah.
Develop your memorization.
Yeah, I had a session the other day, and a drummer who can't read music, and we jammed, and I wrote a tune which was quite intricate, like a 7-bar structure and odd meters, and he just wanted to look at it. It was like just a little, and I was like, no, just listen, and he listened. It was incredible, and
Yeah.
if he was to look at the chart, it would be probably terrible because he would be stuck at now I have to. But
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess many people are like that. So yeah, but
Yeah.
Geoffrey, I'm a guitar player, right? So
Yeah.
and I love Jim Hall. So I watched
Yeah.
yesterday your duo from this Le Nuove Rotte del Jazz 2006 Jazz Festival. It's on YouTube. You and Jim, you have to check it out.
Oh, I haven't seen
You
it.
don't know? It's really beautiful, and the camera work is so cool. But I wanted to ask you, how did your association with Jim, your free association with Jim begin?
Yeah.
And and how was it like to play with him? I mean,
Oh, he's amazing. He called me initially to actually the first time I played with him was like again as kind of a guest. There's a record of his called Panorama.
yeah.
And that was it was Greg Osby and me and some other people. Sorry, just moving this desk a little bit, but that was just like one gig at the Vanguard, and they recorded it. But then he called me to play a week with him at the Village Vanguard duo.
Oh wow!
And so we got together at his house to rehearse. He had a little dog named Django. He loved that dog, man. It's a Shih Tzu dog.
Yeah.
Little yappy thing. He used to carry pictures of his dog, with him on the road.
Oh wow!
People take their kids, pictures of their kids, But the story, and I always tell this to my students too about Jim. After the first set, he says, "Yeah, man, really, really dig what you're doing, man. Sounds great, but maybe we could kind of leave a little more space."
Oh,
Okay.
wow.
Okay, sure. Let me think about that. So the next set, I tried to leave a little more space, and he says, "Yeah, man, sounds good, man, but maybe tomorrow we can think about like thinning it out more,
Wow.
So and he keeps night after night, set after set, keeps telling me the same thing in a different way. Maybe we can kind of find a way to play less notes, maybe we can kind of make it a little bit more of a, and I thought, God, to myself, if I play any less, I'm going to just vaporize, I'm not going to be here at all. And I was really trying to figure out, what does he mean, because I'm trying to be, because I know like I can be very, tend to be kind of a maximalist player. Like I play a lot of notes. I know that, sometimes that's okay. It's not always the right choice, but Jim didn't want that. And I thought, what the hell does he want me to do? And so one night I just said, okay, screw it. I'm not going to do anything except just play some single lines, very sparse, kind of try to interact, like be like an alto saxophone or something. Yeah. He's like, yeah, man, that's whoa.
Interesting.
And so what he really wanted more than anything, he wanted just kind of a dialogue, kind of a, contrapuntal lines and that kind of thing. And I guess I don't, he didn't want anything that sounded like piano. He didn't want pianistic piano playing.
Interesting. Yeah.
When I did my own solos, of course, I could, do whatever I want. But when I was playing with him, he really wanted like just so much space.
Yeah.
And it was cool. But, that was a lesson in itself. But the other part of the lesson was the way that he communicated that to me, because he was just so nice about it, because I've had the opposite experience with some, I won't name them, but some, crusty old jazz musicians who are just like, motherfucker, I told you not to, and it doesn't, that kind of way of, it's the tough love, but not even love, is like tough, aggression and kind of negativity, that doesn't really always get you the results you want, except for making people feel bad.
Yeah, sure.
Jim, he was so supportive, and he was just like really trying to get me to do this thing he wanted and just asking for it, And so I finally figured out how to play with Jim Hall. And then, of course, we would take a year off or something. And then the next time we played, yeah, Jeff, sounds great, man, but maybe we can kind of, you know, right. Shit, sorry, you know.
That's so cool.
I
That's
remember,
so cool.
and also you had to be on time with Jim Hall. If the lobby call was 10 a.m., you know, you had to be there at 9:45, latest. You know what I mean? Because the bus leaves at 10, not 10:01, not 10:05. You know,
Yeah.
there were no fake lobby calls with Jim. We have these things on the road we call fake. You know, because when you have musicians who tend to be late, you know, you tell them 9:30 when you want to leave at 10. You know,
Sure.
10 meant 10. That's it.
Yeah, but that's showing respect also, right? I mean, in a way,
Right.
that's
That's right. Yeah. I came down at 10:01 one time. Jim was like, "It's not going to work."
Did you ever ask all these guys, like, you know, that when you toured with them, like, about, you know, how was it playing with Bill Evans, or like how was it with Art playing with someone, or about their past, or did they never talk about that, or you didn't want to ask them?
Yeah, Jim didn't like to talk about it, the past, at all. He actually got really kind of weird about it.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, he was like, man, you know, I remember someone was waiting outside the airport for him one time with a whole bunch of LPs for him to sign. And, you know, Jim was a nice guy. He was very gracious, but I think he was just kind of in a mood that day. And he was just like, oh man, I don't want to sign all this old stuff, you know? I think he did, but he was just kind of like, oh, God, I have old records, you know, I hate this stuff.
Interesting.
And he played through pedals. He played through a whammy pedal.
Yeah, you have to check out this Italian recording, because it's incredible. He uses some effects, and it's just like really.
Oh yeah, no, he liked all that stuff. He would set the whammy pedal to be like a tritone interval or something, and he would play. But he put everything up on a music stand so he could just reach it instead of on the floor.
Yeah,
you know.
That's incredible. Yeah,
yeah,
that's beautiful. I mean, not to take too much of your time, Geoffrey. I mean, you know, I think I could ask you just like, how was it with that and that and that, but like, how do you decide as a band leader? You know, we talked about other people now. How did you decide which record to do? And you know, you did some solo piano records. You did the duos, which are incredible. You know, with all those greats. I guess that must have been incredible for you. But throughout your career, how do you decide what to do, or have you decided where to go?
Oh man, I mean, so I've never been good at creating a brand and just sticking with it, you know. Like my colleague Brad Meldau, who's such a brilliant pianist. I love his playing, absolutely love his playing. But early on he said, I'm going to have a trio, and so everyone knew that was when you hired Brad Meldau, you knew that's what you were going to get. You were going to get the trio, and they developed a repertoire and a style over the years, and it became a thing, you know. And so that creates something consistent for your fans. For me, I just never, you know, playing trio for me is something I do it more now, but it was not always something I really wanted to do that much, because I would write a lot of original music, and would always write parts for other, like, you know, I'd hear like a saxophone or hear vibraphone or a guitar or something, or quintet or sextet. I could never seem to, you know, be satisfied playing trio. So but I also wanted to just do different things, and I love collaborating. You know, in my 30s, I did a lot of collaborations with musicians from other cultures musically. I collaborated with Hawaiian guitarist Kenny Beamer and Okinawan musician named Yasukatsu Oshima, singer, and Peruvian musicians, you know, Argentinian musicians. I just love just doing different stuff. Yeah. And I would say career-wise, a role model for me would be Chick Corea. Because Chick, it seemed like every time you went to see him, it'd be a different project.
Yeah, true.
You know, And I just thought, and he just loved to collaborate with people and play and communicate and do different things and just have fun. Chick was like a little kid.
Yeah,
all his life.
I hear that, yeah, many times.
It really was. So I don't know. It's been rewarding musically for me and artistically. I've gotten to do a lot of different stuff.
Yeah, that's important too.
And I don't know that it's parlayed into a career in the same way as a leader. You know, people kind of know, well, so what are you bringing me this time? You know? And so each time I have to sell some new project, you know?
Yeah. Which can be good. I mean,
I guess.
Yeah. You like being a band leader? I mean,
I do. I like being a band leader. It is challenging because you have to also do a lot of things that are not musical. You have to book the gigs, book the flights. I mean, you know, I don't have the budget to carry a sound guy and a tour manager and, you know, hairstylist and, you know, lighting guy and all. You know, come on. We don't do, you know, there's very few people that have those kind of budgets. So it's really, if I take a band on the road, I'm the travel agent.
Yeah.
I'm the tour manager. I make sure everyone has, you know, gets on their planes and everyone has a hotel room and that we have the advance all the sound gear, and it's exhausting. It's really a lot of work.
Yeah.
But you know, it's okay.
So somehow we love it. Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Sometimes students ask me about being on the road, and you're like, well, yeah, it's fun, that 90 minutes that you play, but you know, there's all that other stuff that you don't know unless you start doing it. You know, it's but it's also fun.
I always thought we should have but I really think we should have a course. You know, I teach at different universities. I teach at Juilliard and William Patterson and different, you know, places, and I think we should have a course called The Road, you know, and it's just like a field trip. We take a class full of students on a trip. The first thing we do is the airlines, we have them lose their luggage, you know, lose the bags. And then, you know, you get to the hotel and we're going to make sure that we get in at 9 o'clock in the morning and the rooms aren't ready till 3 p.m. So, you know, okay, figure out what you're going to do. And then, you know, we're going to say, get to the gig. There's no catering, or, you know, the restaurant's closed. We're going to make sure the restaurant's closed. We're going to make sure that they don't have the back line they need, you know. What bass amp? Why do you need a bass amp? You know, we're going to make sure the drum set doesn't have like a clutch for the hi-hat. You know, basically everything that could go wrong on the road. Yeah. You know, 1 week. And then after that week, we're going to take them back to New York and say, okay, do you still want to do this? Okay, now you can go transcribe your Charlie Parker solos and all that.
Don't forget, like, long traveling days, waking up at 4 and driving.
Oh yeah. No, every morning, 3 a.m. 3 a.m. alarm. Oh my God. Every morning.
That's a tough one. Yeah. You would have a whip.
That's the job. That's what I charge people for. Like, you know, the 90 minutes on stage, that's free. You know, that's fun for me. It's the other 22 and a half hours of the day. Yeah. You know?
Yeah.
And all the travel, and plus being away from my family and my kids, and, you know.
Yeah. Tim Byrne told me when we were on tour, and he said, I always remember that we're paid to travel.
Yep. Absolutely.
Basically, that's it, you know. I mean, the music, of course, is beautiful and everything, but just, this other part people don't realize. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Geoffrey, just one last thing to end with. I just wanted to ask you about Wayne Shorter. I've read that you replaced Danilo, and you know, that's one of my favorite quartets, and I'm such a fan of those guys, you know. But how did that happen, and how was just like that experience for you?
Sorry, right when you asked that question, the internet kind of stopped.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask you about Wayne. How did that gig happen, and how was it like for you with that quartet to blend in?
Oh my God. Yeah, no, that was absolutely a career high for me. It was a dream come true. And they needed a piano player to fill in for 3 gigs, Danilo, couldn't travel. He'd injured himself.
Mm.
He was in Panama, I think, and couldn't travel for a few days. So they just needed someone like last minute. And Patitucci recommended me. Blade and John both recommended me. So we did one gig at the Hollywood Bowl in Los Angeles, and then we did 2 gigs in Canada. And man, again, it was one of those things that I prepared for my whole life. You know, Wayne's music. When I heard Atlantis, when I was 15 years old, Atlantis came out, changed my life. Absolutely. I was already a big Weather Report fan. I love Weather Report. Of course, had the Wayne, the Blue Note, you know, records and all that great stuff too. But Atlantis, you know, and then Phantom Navigator and High Life and Joyrider, that stuff was like, that blew my mind. And I knew that music. I transcribed a lot of it. And so when they called, I said, okay, I'm going to make sure I'm ready for this gig. So again, I went and got all like the Wayne, you know, I guess there was like maybe one album out at that time, or the of the quartet, or maybe two albums. So I transcribed as much as I could, and again, it was like Wayne's just like, hey man, you know, we can just play free for an hour or whatever. I said, no, I'm ready. Like whatever you want to play, we can do it, you know. And I don't mean to sound arrogant or cocky. No, sure. I'm just like, I love this music so much, and I want to do my best, you know. So I said, no, let's play your music. Let's go. Let's do it. So he just played the gigs like he plays with the quartet, and there's no set list. Like there's no information given. You know, he just walks out and he might go, you know, da 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 dee. And that means that's Joyrider.
Yeah.
You know, you just have to know these little themes, right? You know, or, you know, any of these little tunes. And he was faxing me music. I've got a lot of handwritten music that he sent by fax. You know, I had a fax machine just for him, you know, because he's still using fax machine. And he was sending me like arrangement and like new music he was writing that day. And the next day I'd get a new page 3 of something where he had literally erased or like cut and paste, you know, like a piece of paper with tape on it with new lines written on it.
How cool.
Because he writes everything by hand, you know.
Wow. Yeah.
But it was incredible. I felt like I had prepared my whole life for that. And I thought, I hope because I played with Wayne one time when I was with Art Blakey, you know, it was like an all-star Messengers thing. And I think I like comped for Wayne on one tune or something, but it wasn't like being hired by Wayne. You know what I mean?
That's incredible.
Yeah. So no, it was absolutely like it was 2009 and it's like life-changing, you know?
That's beautiful.
But Wayne was funny because he calls me after the second gig out of 3 gigs. He calls me back to his dressing room, as a trailer in Ottawa, Canada, and he says, "Yeah, man." I was like, "Oh shit, this is it. I'm done. I'm done for." He didn't like it. He was like, "Yeah, man. You know," he goes, "You do this." He says, "But you do this." He goes, "Herbie knows that." And he gave me that face like, Herbie knows that stuff. And I went, I said, "I'm sure he does." I'm thinking, God, you know, this isn't fair. Like, I mean, his you know, his level of playing is what he expects is something as good as Herbie. I'm like, I'm never going to be able to give him that, you know, but you know, then after the third gig, he's like, "You sound good, man." So I was like, "Oh, you know, thank you."
It's so beautiful. Yeah. Oh, incredible.
Cool, like, Geoffrey.
That's yeah. I mean,
what am I missing?
A dream. And those guys also, Brian and John. I mean, as a rhythm section.
Man,
what they
so
do.
Great.
That's like a dream. Like
yeah. So awesome.
But, I will not take more of your time. I guess you have to slowly, you know, pack and do stuff. So
yeah, I gotta get to the gig here.
Yeah. So